Should be good to go, Dominic.
Okay, very good. Well, welcome everybody to the Town Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for March 22nd, 2023. If everybody could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, very good. Maureen?
Yep.
Just measure yours.
Here's yours.
Baseball season's back. So,
Okay,
Well set.
good to go.
Noreen, could you do a roll call, please?
Sure. Chairman Payne, Commissioner Claffey,
Here.
Commissioner Haggerty,
Here.
Commissioner Havens,
Here.
Commissioner Linares,
Here.
Commissioner Trister,
Here.
Commissioner Woods,
Here.
Commissioner Droz,
Here.
Commissioner Gill,
Here.
Commissioner Pascarelli.
Here.
You're all set.
Very good. Thank you, Noreen.
You're welcome.
There's, would assume there's no changes in the agenda, so we're all set there. We'll move right to public participation. If there's anybody within the Zoom application, please raise your hand if you'd like to participate during public participation. If calling into Zoom meeting by telephone, dial *9 to raise your hand to be recognized, or use *6 when recognized to speak by telephone. And if you could state your name and address for the record, I'd appreciate it. Is there anybody online?
Currently is not, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody from the public here? All set? Okay, without any objections, we'll move to remarks by commissioners, if there's any remarks by commissioners. Hearing none. Our first public hearing, I will have the secretary read the procedures for our public hearing.
Mr. Chairman. Procedures for public hearings. The order of proceedings of public hearings shall be as follows. A, convening by chairperson. B, reading of the notice by the commission secretary or a commissioner designated by the chairperson to act in their stead. C, presentation by applicant. D, town planner report on the application. E, persons wishing to speak in favor of the application, limited to 3 minutes per person. F, persons wishing to speak in opposition to the application, limited to 3 minutes per person. G, rebuttal by the applicant, limited to 5 minutes total. During a public hearing, it shall be within the discretion of the chairperson whether the time limitation should be varied slightly, provided the commission consents to any such variance by a majority vote.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Our first public hearing is petition 0423. If Commissioner Linares, would you read that for me, please?
Petition 04-23 zoning regulations amendment, section 3.20.1 to include personal services as a permitted use in the commercial development zone. CD applicant Newington TPZ, contact Eric S. Hinckley.
Okay, we'll have a staff report.
So this, 1 second. This. So it was requested, there was a couple of, Willard Avenue Commercial District, which is down near Alumni Road. There's some commercial condos, professional offices. Currently, personal services are not allowed within that district. The owner of the property had a few different potential tenants for that building and couldn't give them a zoning permit, so they inquired about potentially allowing personal services within that zone, which I brought to you guys in the fall. We had a brief discussion about it. The other commercial zones in town, the largest one is up by the mall, where Dick's is, and that's all retail and stuff like that. Where this district is along Willard Avenue is right across from a lot of residential. I felt that it was a good use in that zone to help get some of those empty spaces occupied. I don't see any detriment to it. So we added this and we also added a definition of personal services as well. So in the future, they have potential tenants. We'd be able to get them a zoning permit and get them moving through and get some of that space occupied.
But, and this was brought to CROG, or was it required to go to CROG? And
Yep, no regional significance.
very good, very good. Any questions from the commissioners for staff? Commissioner Haggerty, go right ahead.
Permitted use as in special permit or by right?
By right, regular permitted use, so no special permit.
This is something that I think can help a lot of those businesses over in that area, which we're having a difficult time renting some spaces. I don't see any harm in it at all. Any other questions from commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, the only thing I would like to add is that, so I did review as part of any zoning regulation or map amendment, it's to be reviewed with compliance with the Plan of Conservation and Development. So for the record, that review was done. This is a very fine grain zoning amendment, so it doesn't really get into that depth, except part of the overall goals of the economic development section is to promote reuse and of existing properties where appropriate. So that's a lot of the POCD talks about the opportunity to reuse, especially as it was noted earlier by Mr. Hinckley, that these areas, there are people who want to go into these areas, they're vacant and they're having a problem renting them out as they are now. So staff finds it consistent with the Plan of Conservation and Development.
Very good. Thank you, Paul. Any other questions? All right, since this is a public hearing, we'll open it up for the public. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of petition 04-23? Anybody online?
There's someone online, they don't have their hand raised.
Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Okay, hearing nothing. If there's no objection, I would entertain a motion to close petition 0423 and move to old business for action.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made by Commissioner Garrity. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Lenars. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, next thing on our agenda is the approval of minutes for Town Planning and Zoning meeting, regular meeting on 3/8/23. Entertain a motion for approval?
I had one small correction, Mr. Chairman. On page 4, at the bottom, there's an exchange between Chairman Payne and Commissioner Droz, but I actually believe that was me. Just a few lines, but I was pretty sure that was me. Just want to make sure I get to the record correctly.
What's it again now, John?
You asked if there were any additional questions, and then there's this at the bottom, you asked, is there any additional questions? And the next line is Commissioner Droz, just to get an understanding, that was actually me asking those questions. So that exchange at the bottom, where it says Commissioner Droz, should say me.
On both of those?
Yeah. All of those.
Okay.
Yeah, all the ones that say Commissioner Droz should be me. Sorry, Stu.
How about just after,
Just after you ask if there is any further questions from commissioners.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yep.
2, 3, 4 spots. Okay. Any discussion on that? A motion with those corrections, please?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Lenars. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes with those corrections. Okay, thank you, John. Okay, we're at new business. There isn't any. We'll go to old business. Petition 0423 that was presented earlier. I'll entertain a motion from John. Would you like to take this?
Sure.
Thank you.
Petition 04-23, zoning regulations amendment, section 3.20.1, to include personal services as a permitted use in the commercial development zone. Applicant Newington TPZ, contact Eric S. Inkley. Motion to approve the regulation amendment with an effective date of April 12th, 2023. Reasons for the approval, consistent with the plan of conservation and development. Personal services are permitted within all the other business zones as of right. By allowing this use within the CD zone, it will open more opportunities for businesses within this underutilized zone.
Very good. Motion made by Commissioner Trista. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Havens. Any discussion, any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, does staff want to talk about anything on petitions for public hearing scheduling? Or we'll go right on to the town planner's report.
We have the one petition coming up for the special flood hazard permit for the MDC pump station replacement. That will be upcoming at your next meeting, I believe.
Sounds good.
Muted.
Any questions? Okay, next thing on the agenda is the town planner's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just to keep you up to date, the Cedar Street Dakota property is continuing at pace. The housing, they have pretty much the shells of course, the clubhouse. The building in the back is mostly complete. I think there's still some work to do on the roof. And then they're starting the other building that's kind of behind Dunkin' Donuts. So that's continuing at pace. 3333 Berlin Turnpike. We've been working with the site developer. Staff is working them concerning the reconfigure of an area that was previously a sidewalk into a 15 by 50 patio. And that fits within the realm of administrative approval. And we're working through them with engineering and planning to kind of tighten up those plans. As you may have noticed, Bertucci's 2929 Berlin Turnpike. We have received calls. We actually spoke with the owner and reached out to them regarding the cutting down of the trees. The building is on the market. He has some interest in the property. Our goal is to work with them to see what they're going to bring in for a proposal, hopefully sometime soon, so we can work with them on the landscaping, getting a lot of that back into place. But if there is an imminent development, to try to work with them to kind of get that all together to do something so it doesn't have to get done twice. Again, they were notified by a notice about cutting down all the trees, but our goal is to work with a developer and either getting them all back.
They're quite overgrown.
Yeah, there was overgrown. There was one that was dead. There was one that was dying at the end, and there was some that could have used a little trimming. They kind of went a little whole hog on removing some of them, but again, our goal is to work with them on the development that can come into place. And it seems like there's some good interest in the property, which is good. As far as the streetscape grants that we talked about at the last meeting, I'm continuing to follow up and the tracking of those on the two business district streetscape improvements. We're reviewing the prior proposals and existing conditions and modifying the plans for things that have been built in that area or other areas of opportunity. Again, before finalizing and getting them out to engineering drawings, we have another opportunity to fine tune it. Our goal is to, of course, work on fine tuning it, meet with the business owners in that area, talk with them about their concerns, and then finalize and move forward and get some of that going. On that note, the town is continuing to pursue hiring a town engineer. As James reported, I believe at the last town council meeting, that there is a potential applicant and they're working through that process. So hopefully everything goes well, they can be brought on board and I can get another partner in crime and getting things done, which will be fantastic, especially with the streetscape projects that will help out immensely. National Welding, 690 Cedar Street. So that is just about to the finish line. It's waiting on one final piece of the agreement. And James is working with the developer right now regarding that. So that is a Spark project over there at 690 Cedar. And the Keeney building. So we met with the developer, I believe it was last week, to go over a discussion what is going on ongoing with the plans, any concerns he has. So my goal is to work with him again, as we did the presentation in front of the TPZ about what he plans, but what the future is, and try to, help him with figuring out what programmatically he needs to do and what he needs to come back before the commission for, and just keep things moving along. He's going to be working on the facade and some interior improvements. And actually, he's going to be presenting at a special meeting on April 6th to the EDC to discuss plans for the building. It'll be similar to the presentation that was given to the TPZ. It might have new information. I don't have exactly what he's going to present, but he's going to be presenting to them on April 6th. So that is my report.
Very good, thank you. Any questions from staff? From commissioners? or staff? Thank you very much, Paul. I don't believe we've had anything under communications. We're back at public participation within the Zoom application. If you would like to raise your hand, if you'd like to participate in public participation. Or here.
No one has their hand raised in Zoom.
Okay, without any objections, we'll go to remarks by commissioners.
Alex with a raised hand.
Hey, Dominic.
Clapping.
Commissioner
raise his
Clappy
hand.
is-
Hi, Commissioner Clappy. Yes.
I had a few things, three things I wanted to ask. 1 and 2 are the same. What's going on at 1910 Main Street, 1934 Main Street? 1934 is more and more cars now. They're all the way over into the woods to the right of the property. I don't know what it is with cars, why this seems to be becoming a growing problem in our town. So those two properties. And third, do we know what's going on? They just clear cut all the trees behind the Citgo gas station on Brockett Street. Is there something going on there? And the fourth thing is, what are we doing? And I don't know if it's with us or with correlation with building or environmental, but these people that come into our town, start this development, and then they just put mud everywhere across our town, from Cedar Street to the Berlin Turnpike. We stay on them for sign permits and making sure they come and get their banners approved, but it seems they can just muddy our waters daily. So those are my 3 to 4 concerns.
Okay, and the first two concerns, Main Street, 1910 and 1934, those are things that were brought up previously, weren't they?
Yeah, they've been brought up. 1910 has been a violator for years, and it seems he keeps parking more and more and putting more accessory structures up. It seems tent style garages. So I don't know.
Okay.
It's a bigger concern than just Main Street, but those are two of the biggest ones I've seen of late.
Okay, we'll have staff look.
Okay.
We'll have staff look into those things, and then maybe they have some answers on anything that any one of the other items.
As far as the property behind the Zitco, so that property is owned by Zitco Station. I did have a representative come in a couple of months ago. It's actually before Mr. Dixon started. They are putting it on the market. He mentioned that they were probably going to clear it. I asked him to try and leave as much buffer as he could between the residential properties and that, but there's no site plans. There's not a whole lot of teeth there in our regulations. So they are going in there and cleaning it. We assume we're going to market it. We don't know the use. It is zoned as business Berlin Turnpike. We've had a couple residents call as well.
Is it, as it's owned by them, is it part of the Citgo Station plot, or is it its own separate It
is a separate parcel.
Okay.
They just own both parcels.
Gotcha.
So we'll see. We don't. Yep.
With that, you bring up another point with that buffering. Like, can we put that on the agenda? We've talked about it for years, about like the business buffering, getting a certain buffering style to our regulations.
Yeah, we have it there. Did they cut the buffer down?
No, there's
I can report too. So the original site plan has a single line of trees. And that's kind of what's there now. So they didn't cut the buffering down. Again, what was previously there isn't, a multi-stacked buffer. It is my intent to reach out to the owner too, to see if there's anything that can be done. Again, since it's not shown on a site plan, you can't make them retroactively come back.
I understand that, but what I'm getting at is for at least 10 years, I've heard the old buffer problem. Like we don't have anything in our regulation or not strong enough. No, we do. I understand that, but it seems like this comes up, and then at the end in our meetings, the biggest concern is, well, how are we going to assist the neighbors who now, everyone's like, oh, just put a fence up, and we've had lengthy discussions on what we could do or could not do, and it seems like it's just it never really comes to fruition where we have a set plan. It brings back to that property down off Church Street, that business and behind a couple houses and parking issues. And then there was a buffer issue. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just sounding a little old fashioned, but it seems like another, here we go. Someone comes and maybe we can update our regulations a little more. So at the end, when they do clear cut it to put a building there or whatever, that we have some teeth in our regulation to protect the residents a little more from everything. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is this the location on, which location is this?
This is at Brockett and Kitts behind the Zitco station. There's that empty lot that butts right up to the back of the Zitco.
Let them clear that?
It's the old Palmezio's.
That's the buffer. That's for the residential neighborhood there. Why would they can't even build there. It's a 25-foot buffer area.
It's a larger parcel than
Is
that.
it a whole lot? What kind of lot? What's it zoned? What's the lot zone?
It's zoned at Business Berlin Turnpike. If you hold on, give me a second. I'll bring it up on the map so you can look at it.
Yeah. They clear all the way to the residential property? Isn't there a residential?
You'll see.
Or do they own all the way to Kitts?
Right.
Yeah, they own all the way from the back of the station to Kitts.
So we're talking about this parcel right here, 60 Kitts Lane. This is the gas station. And there was nothing, as far as the Zitco gas station, there was nothing approved for this lot. This gas station has a buffer along here on their property, as they should. That's what was approved. That's in place. They're cutting this lot.
And what's that zoned?
Business Berlin Turnpike.
Right across from the residential?
Understood. Yes, and
Okay.
and I told the original owner when he came in, or the representative, I said, we're gonna, whatever comes in, we're gonna want some strong buffering along this Kitts Lane side. And I even said, we may even have you
Joint driveway.
use the same driveway entrance or access. So again, depending on the use, he wasn't sure. They're just starting to market it.
Okay.
Commissioners, I only bring it up because all we kind of have left now are these infill little lots. And this is a prime example of people get mad at the commission. So you don't do anything for us. You don't help us. And then we wake up one day and trees are gone. And that's basically what happened here. I mean, I fill up my cars at that gas station, came in one day. I'm like, oh my God, they're clearing lots. Like I assumed there was, something they were going to put up for market, kind of like what just happened at the old Bertucci's lot. And I get it. Those trees half of them were dead anyways. So just more of a conversation piece for our new planner and maybe something to kind of wrap our head around. We're going to see it more and more as these developments of these interior lots, people are looking for things.
Only problem I see is if it doesn't get developed right away, it's all clear cut and now there's no buffer for the residents.
There's the buffer they have is all it is tree trunks, and the branches don't start for 10, 15 feet up the trunk. So it's really just sticks of trunk along kits and a long bracket there. So, you know, that's all. I mean, I'm glad some residents voiced their concerns. You know, I appreciate that. So that's all.
Thank you. Any other commissioners' remarks? Anybody else? Any other? All right, if there's nothing else, I don't have anything. Motion to adjourn? Moved.
Motion made.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody, and good night.
Thank you.